rhinos, centipedes, snakes, spiders, and now, bats! Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. In the Halloween spirit, Gibson has introduced something called the Gibson Bats in Flight Les Paul Custom. So I figured, hey, why not? Let's go ahead and take a look at this and demystify this guitar. So on first appearances here, it appears we have a teardrop-shaped black outlined purple burst that's this really nice dark hue to it. Pickup-wise, we have two humbuckers, which are the custom buckers. And you have a Nashville-style bridge with regular tailpiece. Everything seems to be chrome hardware here. But now take a look at these beautifully placed knobs. Normally, I think of an early 70s Les Paul Custom when I think of these knobs. But being a spooky Halloween guitar, you can bet your butt that they put those on there simply because of their name. Witch hat knobs. It ties in with the whole bat theme. And also notice the lack of a poker chip on this one. This is one of those few times that I agree with that choice. But there's something else that you're probably missing about the body, and that would be the binding. This is not something Gibson does a lot, but this has abalone trim alongside the binding. But you do see ESP and LTD do it all the time. You'll also find it on some fancier acoustic guitars. I think the most memorable guitar that I've had that treatment was the Minerick Inferno guitar. But since it's not on Les Pauls all the time, it's kind of a unique feature for this one. But let's move on to the fretboard now. From far away, can you actually tell what these inlays are? I mean, if I didn't tell you it was the Bats in Flight Custom, you actually have to really zoom in here to see the details of the bats. Personally, I'm not a big fan of these inlays. I like that they were trying to do something different, but it's really hard to tell these are even bats from far away. Speaking of that Minerick guitar, every time I look at that 12th fret inlay, I can't see two bats flying together. I just see an M for Minerick. But it is nice to see that they put an ebony fretboard on this one. Moving on to the face of the headstock, they have a bunch of little mother-of-pearl bats, which I think is a nice little touch. And it's kind of one of those things that makes me feel that the bat inlays were a little bit over the top. I think something like the regular custom block inlays but dyed slightly purple would have been better, or maybe even a dark red. Because then you don't have this whole bat overload thing. They look great on the headstock, but they do replace that custom block emblem. And you just have the Gibson logo at the top. But now switching over to the backside here, there's some additional fine appointments to this one. You have a chambered mahogany body with a trans black finish on it, so you can just barely see the wood grain underneath it all, and even though it's trans black, it still kind of has that slightly purplish vibe to it. You even get one of those Gibson custom medallions on it. I noticed that they didn't do the abalone trim on the back. But look right here. Might be a little bit hard to see in these photos with the black background, but it's a 5-piece maple neck. So 3 pieces maple, 2 stripes of walnut running down the center, and they're highly flamed pieces of maple. As a fan of the high-end 70s Gibsons, I always love me a 5-piece maple neck. The back of the headstock actually makes me a little bit sad. On my channel, I've been documenting the animal-vibed guitars. So you've got the Widow series, there's also a Centipede and a few other ones, but one of those features to these guitars is the stinger on the back. And they'll have an animal decal. So I was a little bit sad to see that these are not actually a part of that family of guitars, but I think that would have been really cool to have like a blood red stinger back here, and a bat decal. But if it's not part of that series of instruments, where does this idea even come from? Just by doing a quick little Google search, it wasn't that hard to find out. Musician's Friend last year, early this year, did one called the Gibson Bats in Flight Dreadnought acoustic guitar. But this one has more of a trans black / brownish finish. But here's where you can see some of those details that come onto this Les Paul Custom, such as the abalone trim, the bat inlays, and the bat headstock. So if this Les Paul Custom is a tribute to this acoustic guitar, then where'd the idea for that one come from? It comes from the Doves in Flight model. So Doves in Flight is like a high-end Gibson Dove, and basically instead of little doves on your guitar, now they're flying. For example, your inlays, flying doves. You also have the abalone trim here. You've got the flying doves on your pickguard. You have them on your bridge. And hey, what do you know? They're also on the headstock. So essentially, they just took Doves in Flight and replaced everything with bats. I think this was a missed opportunity to make this in the shape of a bat as well. But instead of the dove flying around in the wheat, you've got the bats flying around the cattails in a dead tree. But since that was last year's model, they actually reissued this guitar again for this year. It's called the Bats in Flight Acoustic Guitar. Pretty much the only difference between this one and the previous version is now we have that kind of purple burst finish on it. And the back still has the trans ebony with beautiful quilted maple. But now the big question, what's the price tag on these guys? So the Les Paul Custom Bats in Flight is going to ring up at $7,999. That is an insane price. And I'll let you guys in on a secret, this is my second time recording this episode, and I really couldn't find a way to justify that price. But then I found a little bit more information in between these recordings. So the listing just says it's produced in limited numbers. I don't like it when they say that, because that could mean anything between 5 to like 10,000. I think that's kind of a snafu on their part. They should have told us how many were made if they wanted to sell these things. According to some Facebook commenters, there were only 10 of these made worldwide. I haven't been able to find anything to 100% back that up, but I mean, that seems like a good number that would justify this price. But then I saw a photo of one of these inside the case. You see this red certificate of authenticity? That means it's from the Gibson Crimson division. Crimson is above the custom shop as far as quality. These are usually art guitars, things like the Bella Voce Les Paul, anything that acoustic room guy sells, right? We've documented a few of those. Knowing that this is actually a Crimson guitar, $8,000 doesn't seem quite as bad anymore. And these appear to be Guitar Center exclusive models. But if you only have $7,000, you can pick up the Bats in Flight acoustic guitar. I'm not much of an acoustic guy, I couldn't justify that price. Even so, I'm not necessarily a buyer for this one either. But if I ever find one used for like $4,000, maybe. But here's a fun question, who do you think should buy one of these? I mean, the first guy that came to my mind was Ozzy Osbourne. Even though, you know, he doesn't necessarily play guitar, being the Prince of Darkness with the whole biting the bat's head off thing, it just kind of works with him. So now that we've discovered this model, let's go ahead and hear how one of these Bats in Flight models sound.
Yeah, what a great playing guitar, and like I was saying, it's really unique and very ornate, lots of fun stuff, but the darkness.
The only question left, would you rock the Bats in Flight Les Paul Custom or not? Leave your answer down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.